Today on the old show, we're going to be talking about a former ghost hunter who has his own YouTube channel doing paranormal investigations. That's today. We're going to be talking about that today on this episode of Back to Paranormal. Hi, and welcome back. And this is Back to Paranormal. I am Brian Mitchell, and I'm one of the co-hosts. My other co-host here is the beautiful and lovely
Marjorie. Thank you.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I am well. Thank you.
You are looking great tonight.
I'm a mess. I'm working in the garden.
You're working in the garden. Mm-hmm. Yes. And how is the garden doing?
So far, so good.
Oh, okay, good. Good.
Just fingers crossed.
Okay. So today on the show, before we do anything, our friend Mark Paul posted some stuff on. I guess he posted one of our questions from last week about. You remember this?
Where would you rather do an overnight?
That's right. And the four choices were Queen Mary. And let's see, Skinwalker Ranch. Darn, why can't I remember these? I should have wrote these down. I'm stupid. Do you remember the other two?
What were the other two? Alone camping overnight in the woods
in
Whitehall, New York.
Okay.
And then Tombstone,
Arizona.
Those were the four choices.
Yeah, so he posted it on his paranormal Facebook page.
Yeah.
To his Ohio people.
Yes.
Over there. So was it Stanton, Ohio?
I believe so.
Yeah, boy, I really came prepared today. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mark. But anyway, he put the question up, and we got a few responses.
Well, in your defense, we have a lot of place names that we have to talk about tonight, and they're kind of rattling around in your mind.
I think that's what's happening. Like a bunch of marbles kind of like whacking each other together. But no, we had actually another friend of the show, Adrian. I'll just do a shout out to him.
Hi, Adrian.
Adrian said it would be... basically Skinwalker Ranch. That would be his choice. That would be the last choice for me.
Definitely. Hats off to you, Adrian. Man, that is not something I would do.
No. I'd be more afraid of the rattlesnakes than anything. The sidewinders and all that stuff.
But if Adrian... Okay, well, wait, now I'm going to rescind that. If Adrian wants company on his overnight investigation, we will go with you.
Yeah, but we'll be like in a camper or something. Just peering out occasionally. You okay? Yeah.
How's it going?
How's it going out there?
Blink once for yes.
That's right. Once for yes and whatever. So some people said, definitely the Queen Mary. That would be my choice.
That was your choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think your choice was what?
Tombstone.
Oh, Tombstone. Yeah. I guess it would be a toss-up for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but thanks for the people in Mark Paul's little society over there, paranormal.
I don't know if it's that little, honey.
It's pretty big, actually.
Yeah, no, yeah. He has a good sized group. Ohio has a lot going on paranormal wise.
They do.
Yeah. But speaking of investigations.
Yes.
Okay, now. Here we are.
Yeah, we're right here.
We have this podcast.
We do.
Talking about all things paranormal.
Yes.
And have you ever been on an overnight paranormal investigation, Brian?
Have I?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Not an overnight.
No. Neither have I.
No.
Have you ever wanted to?
Have I ever wanted to do that?
Like when you watch some of these shows on TV.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of fun to kind of go into an area. I wouldn't want to go into like an insane asylum or something like that. I'd want to just do a house.
Those ones make me sad.
Yeah, they make me sad. There's
very, very sad.
It's beyond creepy for me. But we have driven through some areas that are haunted. There is on Long Island. There's a Kings Park. Psychiatric center, which I don't believe functions anymore. It's basically, but we drove through it, and
this was before we knew that there was.
Yeah, but anyway, we drove through it, and it's pretty creepy just
It was
driving through the area.
It was creepy.
We didn't go late either. I think we did it around maybe late afternoon, something like that. And but there's something about
There's
it.
a Paul. There's a Paul that
Not a Mark Paul.
not a Mark Paul. But
Yeah.
that's what we're here to talk about. For all of you listeners who've been like, I wonder what it would be like to do one of these investigations, you should tune in to Jason Hawes'
That's right, his YouTube channel. And Jason Hawes was one of the key guys with the Ghost Hunters, and I think they still have a show that's going on. But this is
the TAPS group.
Yeah, the TAPS group, Ghost Hunters, and they've had different shows and stuff like that. But this is a completely independent project, I believe. And he brings a couple of people with him, and they go in with cameras and equipment, and they kind of just do walkthroughs of places that are haunted.
Yeah.
And
it's very very pure. It's unedited for the most part.
Yeah.
It's Jason and his I guess cohorts.
JV.
Jim and JV and John.
John, yes, but primarily JV. JV, what is it? JV Johnson.
Yes.
Yes. They go in with cameras, with lights on the cameras, and basically they will walk through. They'll sit and basically do a ghost investigation. They have different pieces of equipment that they go in with. But before we talk about
we need to boop.
We got to boop.
We need to boop.
Because you're probably all asking for this. So anyway, what is the drink of choice?
Nothing exciting. I didn't have anything exciting up my sleeve today. I was busy in the garden.
Right.
We're drinking Beck's. I'm
is
sorry
okay.
to bore our lovely listeners.
Well, hey, Beck's is pretty good.
Beck's is refreshing.
Yeah, it's originated in Bremen, Germany, and it's probably filled up in the swamps down south or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. It's probably brewed right here in Long Island or something.
Down the hatch.
Down the hatch. Here we go.
To you, my love.
To you.
Thank you.
Here we go. 1,
Boop.
2, 3, boop. Ow. Wow, that hurt my ears.
I wanted to make it loud.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Here. Now that's what I call beer.
I'm going to say a little prayer for my sweet peas.
There you go. She's referring to plants. And she's growing some plants in the garden. And from seed to seedling.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yes.
And doing quite well, actually.
I think so.
I think so, too.
I think so, too.
So how do we go from seed to,
Okay,
I guess...
I don't know.
Well, Jason Hawes planted this idea, which is basically... It's unfiltered, I should say.
Yes, they're doing it their way.
Yes.
Okay? And that I really enjoy. These paranormal investigations, this has to happen on your free time, on your weekend, if you have a full-time job. And there's the cost of equipment and transportation and lodging and all this stuff. And, this is something that you really have to take out of, your life. It's a bona fide hobby. So what I like about the show is they kind of make you feel as though you're on these investigations with them because they're very uninhibited. They're very much themselves.
Yeah.
And it's fun that way.
It is. They're really unedited. I mean, they are a little bit because they're not going to... But they will do a ghost investigation, and you're just following them through. And when you watch some of these other shows, like Kindred Spirits or the original Ghost Hunters, it's a show, and they have to kind of keep you captivated. The average viewer isn't going to stick around for more than 5 minutes on some of these things if nothing's going on, or if there's no tension involved or nothing interesting going on. So a lot of those shows are edited, and they're kind of heightened with the music, and this doesn't have any of that. And I think the value of this is the fact that you're getting something that is, they give you some history on it, they kind of walk through the grounds, and then they do their investigation, but it is pretty straightforward from when they open up the door and they're going from floor to floor, and you're going with them from floor to floor. There's no cuts really.
Yeah.
Unless they...
And they're not, it's not like they're taunting the entities that reside in that locale and screaming, and then something happens and they start screaming and the camera starts shaking.
Right.
While they run away down the hallway and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all the things that we kind of hate about some of the other ghost investigation shows, where you have, they start taunting the spirits in the environment, trying to make them angry, and which I find very disrespectful.
I do too.
And so they come at it from a very respectful point of view, and
very straightforward, and
yeah.
and these are long nights, especially when nothing is happening.
Yeah. Now that's one of the downsides of this show, is that you follow them through, and when they start catching stuff, they catch some stuff. I mean, we were watching a number of these episodes, and there were things that they were catching. They were legitimately getting, sensors going off, and they did one old-fashioned thing, which is basically one of those bells.
Yeah, like a clerk bell.
A clerk bell,
yeah.
And the bell kept going off. And this is not an electronic thing. This is a thing that something has to press it down to get a ring out of it.
It's like the tried and true paranormal method.
Yes.
The bell on the string, or
Right.
the clerk bell, on the stairs, or talcum powder or whatever. I don't know, for footprints.
Right.
And
if they have feet, if spirits have feet.
I think that depends on where people are going. Anyway, it's one of those ye old Z times Z, tricks. And there are a couple episodes where it's just like the place is completely coming alive.
Right.
And then there are some investigations where
Don't get anything.
Kind of like crickets.
Yeah, it's like a one big fat zero. But
it's true. It's authentic.
Yeah, the thing that's...
And I like that.
Yeah, the thing that struck me about these videos, because they can be very long. And, I mean, if you go to his YouTube channel and you subscribe to it, he has things that are a couple of minutes long. He has other things that are, 2 hours long. And so, it depends on how much time you want to invest in it. But the thing is that when you're watching one of these things... One of the qualities that I really liked was the fact that you really felt like you were going along with them on a ghost investigation. You didn't feel like you were being entertained. You felt like you're almost kind of like getting, swooped up into it.
Like part of the group.
Part of the group.
Yeah.
But but like what we were saying before, that can turn out to be a really, really great thing, because all of a sudden things start happening. They go into a particular area. All of a sudden things are starting to happen. Things are turning on. Lights are going on. They're hearing voice anomalies and stuff like that. Or it could be the flip side, where it's basically one big fat zero,
Mm-hmm.
And so, they have the night vision cameras, and they got all these different sensors and stuff like that. And that's one of the downsides. But that's if you ever want to do a ghost investigation, this would probably be
buyer beware.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be completely crazy, and something scratched the back of your neck, like that happened at Casey's cottage with Jason Hawes, or just very, very dull night. On those moments where it gets dull for Jason Hawes and his friend Jim JV, I think it's very funny when they start to get a little punchy.
Yeah.
And they get a little bit, they
get a little goofy.
silly.
They start joking around.
And that's entertaining.
It is entertaining.
But
There's
they're
some good
not
stuff.
they're not doing it for a show. Again, this
Right.
is the two of them, and this is what they do.
No, it's just very real. It's very real. It's like it's like you go somewhere and you're a little bit bored and you start just cracking jokes,
Like dirty limericks and things.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's. But there are some episodes that are actually very interesting. You were talking about Casey's Cottage was one of the videos that they posted.
Casey's Cottage.
Yeah, and this is on Lake Ontario, I believe.
Correct. It's a beautiful view of Lake Ontario. It's in a town called Mexico, New York.
Exactly. So it's
on Lake Ontario.
The western part of New York State, right on Lake Ontario. But anyway, there's a tremendous amount of history in this area. And so the cottage that they were investigating it used to be Dr. William Casey's cottage. I have no idea who that is. Do you?
He was a professor, and what he wanted to do with this cottage was, with his artist friend Severin Bischoff, to create a medieval style manor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And did they succeed? It's a lot of cheesy figures in there.
In the it's a 19th century building, and in the late 1800s, there was throughout England there was a movement called the Romantics movement, and so things were very much hearkening back to because we've got the Industrial Revolution that's kind of taken off, and people are right before the kind of arts and crafts movement. People really kind of wanted to hearken back to simpler times, and they were romanticizing about, a lot of neo-Gothic style buildings were going up, and it was very de rigueur to have your candelabra looking as though you were at King Arthur's court and some things.
Well, I could tell you the area surrounding this cottage is very beautiful.
Oh, it's breathtaking and beautiful.
So they do a whole tour of the property on a separate video. But then they did some ghost investigation in there, and I think they got some anomalies. They got some sound anomalies. Some of the things sounded like what we did with Diane Calderon when we were interviewing her, and we got all these little vocal anomalies on the Zoom call.
On the recording,
Yeah.
but they also had disembodied voices in the room.
In the room itself.
With them.
Yeah.
The bell, the old Clark bell, was going like crazy.
Yeah.
They had a motion sensor that could light up green for yes and red for no.
Correct. That's right.
And a lot of these, this activity was in direct response to the questions that Jason and JV were putting out into the space.
Yeah. Exactly.
Footsteps.
Right.
It was really, really,
very
neat to watch.
Very neat to watch. And like I said, it's not edited. It's not like, they're cutting a ton of stuff out. This is happening like in real time as they're recording it. So the one thing that they do stop is like I said, when they get the voice anomaly, or they find some a visual anomaly, then they will actually stop it. With the audio, they'll increase the volume, and they'll play it back a couple of different times so you could hear it, and then they'll do the same with the visual. So. And a lot of times, I think there were a lot of orbs going pretty crazy. Like there was one, and you got to correct me if I'm wrong. They were hearing like a music box. And was that from that one? Or?
I believe that was in Wilson Castle, which is in. I believe that was in Wilson Castle in Proctor, Vermont.
Okay, all right.
They had some that was really beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
The orb.
Right.
They had a static cam in a parlor at this castle,
and nobody was there. This was
they
like
had
overnight.
They had left the property. It was roughly around 4 a.m.
Yeah, between 2 and 4 a.m, somewhere around there. But anyway, the camera caught like an orb coming to the camera and passing the camera. I guess there was a music box behind the area, and as soon as it passed, all of a sudden a music box started playing. Didn't last too long. It was, what, 10 seconds maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Very pretty.
Very pretty, and also very creepy. And you're hearing this in the background, and there's nobody there.
I didn't feel like it was creepy. I felt it was very sweet.
I think the bass, well, it is sweet. I like music boxes, but I think with the orb passing by and then it going off, I think the combination is it's creepy.
They wanted to hear that song they love so much.
I guess
for just
so.
a minute.
I guess so. But anyway, that's one of the things that they caught. And I mean, there's lots of other things. I mean, we've watched. There was an episode that we watched where it was I think the Lincoln House at or Lincoln Square, was it Lincoln Square?
Okay, the inn at Lincoln Square.
There you go.
This one, this was in Gettysburg.
Yeah, and the story about
in
this was whoever owned it at the time went away when there was a battle in Gettysburg, and when he came back to his house, he went into the basement, and there were dead bodies stacked up in the basement, I think about chest high. And, of course, he was not very happy about it. But anyway, this house it was an infirmary.
Yeah.
And basically, people that had been shot, they were operated on. Sometimes they could not save a limb, and there'd be a lot of amputations. And sometimes they couldn't save the people, and they had to store the bodies somewhere, and so they put it into the basement. And so, if anything's going to be haunted, I would think that would be. But this is the thing. And
but Gettysburg is notorious for being. I've never been. You have been.
I've been there, and it's creepy. It's very creepy to me. And it was a long time ago, but I remember going, and just there's a sense of dread being in the area.
Well, your father took you when you were like how old?
Under 10. I don't know what year it was, but I remember going. There was a.
And you felt the weight of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was something about the area, and you got to remember, this is not a kid that really knew
what that was,
the history of Gettysburg, but
even the concept of war in general.
Exactly.
And, the magnitude of that.
Exactly, but it was. But I knew it was very somber.
Yeah.
Going to Gettysburg, and we had visited a few there was one roadside attraction. It's probably still around. I have a feeling it's still around. Where you went into, it's a small place. You go into a room, and it just has a lot of history. A lot of things that are on the walls and stuff, and cases, whatever. And you went through this, and then you went into another room, and they kind of reenacted with a map on the wall. The war.
That particular
battle. The battle of Gettysburg. And so it was just a giant map with things would light up on the map, like this happened here and this happened there, and sitting in that room was very creepy to me.
Yeah.
Because I kept expecting something to like jump out at me. It was just such a creep, and there was nothing there really for that to happen. But it was just loaded with this map and somebody talking, and then basically sound effects of like the battle and stuff like that.
God.
So it was.
Couldn't imagine.
So I just remember this and remember it being real creepy. I didn't see any ghosts, but but like I said, there was just a general feeling of like dread, for me as a kid. So.
Well, at this particular inn, they have, it's Lincoln Square, and this, I think, I don't know, they go throughout the inn. There is a picture of Abraham Lincoln on every wall of every room.
And there was
Some of them were not very flattering. I mean, he didn't even start off at, a handsome man to begin with. You don't have to make him less attractive.
There was one picture that they focused on where it looked like his eyes were just like black holes.
Yeah, it was the best. I mean, how about a little quality, not quantity?
Yeah.
Lincoln?
I mean, it was a good portrait, but it was creepy because of that.
He's everywhere. He's all over.
He's all over the place. Every wall you turn.
But
to.
one thing that was very interesting that JV said in that investigation was he said, I would tell you I get this answer so often when I ask someone, how did you get into paranormal investigations? And so many of the responses are, well, I went to visit Gettysburg.
Right. Yeah.
And then that's how it all starts for some people.
Yeah, I think Tombstone could be one of those places. I think anywhere around the country, there's some haunted spots somewhere. It could be a hotel that has a haunted history to it. People stay there. They happen to stay in a room that's haunted, and then they have an experience and it piques their interest. Or you had something as a kid. Something happened to you as a kid growing up, and or maybe you had a couple of things that happened and it piques your interest in this type of thing. I think everybody has at least one thing that's happened that's, I always say this, there's always one thing that you can't explain. And
you do always say that.
I do. And
Yeah.
So
so these investigations that, if you go to his YouTube channel, you kind of are getting the real color on what it is to be on one of these or participating in one of these investigations. And like sometimes it's like an hour of not a whole heck of a lot, and then there's this one thing that is just like, wow, that was gold.
Right. Or sometimes it's just nothing.
Or sometimes it's
just
I don't know if I mean, well, yeah.
No, we've watched one.
We watched that at the Bailey Seton Hospital in Staten Island, which began in 1831. The building is quite beautiful. It was a marine hospital. It was for retired naval personnel. But then when a great deal of influx of immigrants were coming to America, they turned that into the quarantine. And so a lot of really unpleasant things happened there. At one point, the building was burned down because people were getting sick, and they were blaming the immigrants who were, but other things. They did this huge investigation, not a whole heck of a lot, and then they go into this one room of the hospital, and you hear, like clear as day, this. And the guys were like, what was that? That was like glass or cracking. And it sounded exactly to me like when a nurse back in the day would snap a glass ampoule to fill a needle. In those days it was largely morphine. Right. And that was exactly the sound that...
Right. But they couldn't find anything.
No, there was nothing anywhere. Nobody stepped on any glass.
Yeah. Sometimes with these investigations, you're not going to get a whole lot. You're not going to get like a, something that manifests in front of you, like a spirit. And I think in that, the one we were talking about before, the one in Mexico, New York, right? I think there was an area like in an attic area where there was, maybe a apparition that had been noted. People had seen it, but in their investigation, they did not see that. So that's the thing with ghost investigations. It's like either something's going to show up for you or it's not. And sometimes, I always feel like if you're going to do an investigation somewhere, if the spirits are there, they're either confined there. Like they can't leave there, and that's why they're present. And I think with a house or like a mansion, if somebody really liked living there, maybe their spirit stays there because they want to be there.
That's their happy
place. But I think when you die, I don't think you're confined to an area. I think it's kind of like when you're done, and then you kind of go off, to wherever the spirit world is, which could be right here, just be a different dimension. But I think it's kind of a, like I said, it's kind of a crapshoot in a way.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
It's not like they're just hanging out for you, waiting for you to come in and, oh, good, they're coming in to do a ghost investigation. We got to put our duds on,
Yeah.
So
start putting on our boots to stomp around in the attic.
Yeah, exactly. But if the spirit is happily living there, and now you kind of come in and, maybe they'll welcome you, maybe they don't want you there. And, maybe they're very happy to be living there on their own, living there, existing there. Maybe that's the proper way.
Well, then they asked at that same place, at Casey's Cottage in Mexico, New York, they asked, we would love to come back. Would that be okay? And the flux receptor device that was...
flux capacitor.
The flux capacitor lit up green. Right after that.
Right.
And they were like... they said, well, let's just ask you again. If we come back in a little while, will that be okay? And right then, it lit up green again.
Right.
And it really, most of the activity in that investigation was with that bell.
Right.
That they had.
Yeah. Ding.
Elsewhere in the house.
Yeah. Which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But also, there are certain moments where the show gets kind of funny, and it's very often when not much is happening.
Right.
One thing that they did point out was, isn't it crazy how when we're relaxed and we're just goofing off and we're not, interrogating the room, the empty room.
Right.
Then sometimes vocals do kind of thread their way through because they're trying to get in on the fun. You're feeling relaxed.
Right.
And it's more of an inviting atmosphere as opposed to an interrogation of...
I think that's actually a really good theory. I think when you come in, you're serious, and you're going, "Hi, we're here from whatever, and we want to talk to you, and you're very formal. We're not going to hurt you or anything." It kind of puts everything on a different...
You're on the back heel.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
the key feet. You're like, am I about to be served subpoena paper?
Yeah, exactly. But if you come in, and I think this is just... I think if you're relaxed, in general, I think things kind of come to you. I think when you're not stressed, when you're just, you're just kind of like even keel. I think that's when things happen. So, and I think that goes in life too. I think if you're stressed, and you're not happy or whatever.
It's the energy that you're emanating.
Yeah, you're emanating this almost a negative energy.
Yeah.
And that could be very repelling. And I'll just bring this up. It's not as part of the investigation, but or any of Jason's investigations that we've seen so far, but there are times when I'll walk into a room, and I don't know if we've talked about this before. I'm sure we have. We've talked about a lot of stuff over and over and over again, especially me. But you can walk into a room and nobody could be there, but you get a sense that there is a negative energy, and it could be your own home, or it could be your parents' home, and what might have happened in that room, that there might have been
an argument,
a really bad argument, and so that energy basically is still in the room. Even though the people have left the room. And you kind of just get this heaviness, you get this feeling. And I think that really, really happens. And I think spirits can definitely sense that because they are energy. So if they sense a negative energy, they may not want to go into that area. And that's why I think that, certain ghost investigation shows where they come in and they're just really aggressive, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think they get a whole lot. I think they might get some anger. They might get some reaction to that, but I think it's repulsive to a spirit. So.
I think that Jason and his partners, they bring a very good energy to where they go. One thing I thought was really funny was when they were, I think this was at Wilson's Castle. Now, this is a man who's been doing this for decades, going out at night in the dark in a scary place. And like a normal person, he can't stand bats. That's where he draws the line.
Yeah, not spirits, not poltergeist. No, bats.
Bats. And they went into this one room. And there was the biggest bat.
Bat flying around. Yeah, and he was like, this other guy JV was basically saying, okay, you can go, and he's just like frozen. He's just frozen there. Yeah,
because he kept because the thing this is with bats. Okay, I cannot stand them. They're very erratic. It's not like a bird where it's predictable. They're frittering and and they flap you. They flap you. And then they buzz by.
And they flap you again.
And they flap and I'm getting just thinking about it.
Right.
These guys are going into these places, these dirty old places with short sleeve shirts and shorts.
Yeah.
With skin being exposed to the elements.
Right.
And bats potentially.
Yeah.
No way.
It's crazy,
like
right?
a turtleneck ski mask.
Well, if they're going in with shorts, it's probably warm.
Boots.
Yeah. Everybody kind of has their Achilles heel. Some people don't like snakes. Some people don't like spiders. Some people don't like bats, And, excuse me. Too much beer. Sorry.
They had to terminate the investigation because was a big... I would terminate. Yeah. I would be out.
Yeah, Jason said probably the biggest fear for them is not the spirits or seeing some apparition or whatever. That's not the biggest fear is actually seeing somebody like people that are in there that shouldn't be there, and that would be an animal
scary too.
Yeah, like if you go in there and there's let's say a big old bear in there or something. Kind of hanging out in a corner. Well, it could be raccoons too. These things do. Bats, I believe, carry rabies, and same thing with raccoons. Any animal can have it, and you're walking into these dark spaces, so you don't know what you're going to encounter. So it takes a whole different type of individual. It's not so much the ghost. If you can just go in there and know it's all batted down, and it's no problem going in there as far as somebody being in there or whatever, but
I had a friend get bit by a bat, and they were told he was told don't wear those flip flops, don't, because the veins, they want to get to those veins, and he was like, I'll be fine. Sure enough,
and he got
bitten
right on the vein.
He got bit on his foot. And he had, that's terrible. He had to have the whole course of rabies shot. I was like, see, no flip. You're flipping and you're flopping, and the bat's gonna come flapping, and then you're
exactly
in deep doo-doo.
Deep doo-doo. Okay, so what do we say about the show? I think it's pretty cool that you can go to YouTube and watch it, and there's commercials on there because they monetize it and stuff. But it's not terrible. It's a commercial or two, and then it goes right back to the show. And I like it.
I like those guys.
Yeah. And I think it's...
And I like the history. They give a lot of history.
There's a lot of history, and they do a lot of video. There's one cool feature that they've done where when they were touring basically that cottage, right, that they're walking the grounds. It's a separate video, but you can use your remote control to direct the camera where you want to go. So if you want to see what's to the left or to the right or up or down, you can just use the arrows on your remote, and it's really kind of neat. And he's narrating. He's going through the whole area like that. So it's a very neat 3D camera thing that you can actually control. And that's why I was saying before, with those features on these investigations, it makes it very interactive. And that's part of making you feel like you're part of it.
Even if this is you're a diehard paranormal investigator, the chances of you getting to go to all of these haunted places are really kind of slim. I mean,
Yeah.
to go all of these places,
Yeah, you'd have
or
to-
even be granted access, to some of them.
Right,
And,
right.
So yeah, it's kind of a ride along, I guess.
It's a ride along, and you feel,
in a sense.
and if you really get into it, if you really give it a shot, you feel like you're part of it. So no, I really like this. It's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of different shows now on YouTube that you can go to, and basically, they're well produced shows. They look good. This actually looks good. They're shooting it with Canon cameras. Going through here, so the quality is actually no different than any of the Ghostbusters shows, Ghost Hunters shows, or any of the other ghost hunting shows that I've seen. So the quality is there, and it's. I think if you sit and you watch it and you give it a shot. I don't know if you could do 2 of these in an afternoon or an evening, but I think doing one of these things.
That's another thing. They, like you said earlier,
Mm-hmm.
they range in their duration. So some are an hour and 3/4, and some are just like a 20-minute.
Or 5 minutes.
Yeah. So you
yeah.
don't. You're not really investing your entire evening or what have you.
Yeah, and you can always go. You can always go back to it if you subscribe to like a YouTube. You subscribe to the thing. It's basically you can watch half of it and then go back to it like the next night and see. Okay, maybe something will happen here. But if
Yeah,
you,
I was really happy
yeah.
that you discovered it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, it's really kind of neat. So I give it an A. I give it a big. Fat
I
A.
give it 2 thumbs up, and if I had more thumbs, I'd give it more thumbs up.
If you had more thumbs.
That's Anna Nicole Smith, by the way.
Oh really?
That's a direct quotation.
There you go. There you go.
I love it.
Yeah. So there you go. Jason Hawes YouTube channel. And so thank you. Thank you very much. So
Well, it's been a nice visit.
it has been.
Yeah.
We're going to be interviewing some people in the next couple of weeks. And, if you haven't checked out our Facebook page yet, you should do that. Subscribe to us on Facebook. We're on YouTube. You can subscribe to Back to Paranormal on YouTube. Check out our webpage. Haven't said this in a long time, so I figure
But yeah.
I haven't.
Give them the lineup.
I know. You used to hate it when I used to do that on every show.
I didn't hate it.
Oh, okay. She didn't hate it, so
I didn't hate it.
maybe I hated it.
Oh.
I hated saying it all the time. But
I like the way you
you should
say
check it out. Anyway, if you have any comments, send them to us. The comments at backtoparanormal.com, or you could address me. Just BC Mitchell at backtoparanormal.com.
Make comments.
Yeah, make comments.
Send us more questions. We love doing those.
Yeah, we do. We'll do another show, not right away, but, we get a few decent questions coming through. We'll do that. Yeah. And so, what do you say? Should we wrap it?
I say wrap.
Okay, we're going to wrap it. Anyway, we'll be back next week, next Tuesday night, for another episode of
Back to Paranormal.
Good night, everybody.
Good night and God bless.
Bless you.